Using arm weight when you play the piano can be one of the most helpful things that you can learn to really bring your technique alive and play with more ease and fluency. So without further ado, let's jump right in. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So when you do this on the keyboard, we're going to take a step back for a second because there's a certain progression to this that I think is really helpful. So when you do this on the keyboard, you want to start with a non-legato arm drop, okay? So what I mean by that is I'm coming down into the keys and I just sort of settle into the bottom of the keys like so. Now this should not be fast, so if I use the word drop, it sounds like you're just falling into the keys. But I would recommend trying to go a little bit slower, just sort of settle into the key. And you'll notice that when I'm up here, I'm making sure that everything is loose and released, okay? So I don't have any kind of tension or muscular activity when I'm here. This is all just really relaxed. So I kind of come down and I settle into the keys like so, okay? That can help me because if I'm really kind of tight here and I come down, now I have to release and just sit at the bottom of the key. So then usually there's some sort of collapse. So if I start from a very released, loose position and settle down to the keys like so, it's much easier to do that, okay? So once I can do one note at a time on each finger, and just kind of come down and settle into the keys. And by the way, this sort of released position, if you want to call it, when I lift, I really just sort of release everything as I lift. That is very important when it comes to playing the piano. You know, when we do everyday activities, there's a certain amount of release when we move our hands and our fingers and things like that. And you'll notice that the wrists are never stiff. I think I've used this analogy before when you see little kids doing the patty cake thing. They're not stiff like this, right? Patty cake, patty cake. So there's this sort of wave to my wrist. And really what that is muscles that don't need to be used are relaxed, they're released. Okay, so that's kind of the idea here. So I can practice that, you know, going from one note, or each finger rather, practice that on each finger coming down. Then what I can do is I can do two notes at a time. Say 2 and 5, 1 and 4, 1 and 3. It doesn't matter, whatever the finger combinations are. 2 and 3, same thing, okay? So I'm settling down, finding that position of support, right? So I'm not collapsing, but I feel like I'm just resting at the bottom of the keys. Then what I can do is I can do two notes in succession. So let's say I'm going to go 3, 2, okay? And actually, let me try that again. So I play my third finger, settle into that key, and then I shift to my second finger. I can do the opposite, 2, and then shift to 3. What you'll actually notice is that every single time I do that, so if I play my second finger, I'm here, and then I shift to that third finger. Notice that my hand and fingers move. So I'm not here, and I stay here, and then I shift my weight to here. That means that this is all being held in a stiff position. That's going to invite in tension. So I want to make sure that when I shift my weight to my other finger, I'm actually shifting my hand and finger and arm. And you can see what that feels like, right? If I do this, and I shift my weight to here, but nothing moves, I feel a little off balance. That feels better. So from here to here, okay? It's almost like a little bit of rotation, which is a different concept that we don't have to get into. Once I develop that, then I can begin to apply that to maybe just a 5-finger scale. Feeling like I'm settled into the bottom of each key. I can do an octave scale or multiple octaves, okay? This is the progression of practice that I would recommend, okay? Now, we can use arm weight, and we should be using the weight of our arm as the primary means of putting the key down if we're playing, for instance, a scale, an arpeggio, or some sort of non-legato. Okay, so the arm comes down and I settle into the bottom of each key as I play. Now this is really a wrist staccato. We don't really have to get into wrist versus finger staccato, but my point is here is that it's the same principle. I'm just not sitting at the bottom of the key for a long time. It's a very split-second thing, okay? And of course, in the use of repertoire, no matter what it is that I'm playing, okay, so as I'm playing my left hand, I'm settling my weight, shifting it from finger to finger, and then to this finger, and then I'm just sitting there. Same thing in my right hand. Okay, so I'm shifting the weight from finger to finger. And you'll notice that that can actually be quite fast. Okay? Doesn't matter what I'm playing. If I'm playing different sort of patterns, my hand's a little more outstretched. Oops. Okay, so it doesn't really matter what I'm playing. That's still the important sort of guiding principle that's going to go, okay? So I'm thinking about using the weight of my arm and settling at the bottom of the key rather than essentially hovering over the keys and stabbing my fingers down. It's a very different fundamental approach to playing the piano. So this is how you can tell if you're using arm weight or how you can know if you're using arm weight. I hope that this was helpful, and I hope that this can provide you guided practice to develop this into your own technique if this is something that you need to develop as a pianist. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.